And welcome to the Speak for Yourself podcast. My name is Casey and I'll be your host. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let's bring on the guest real quick. We have a returning guest, Cheese, back from the spirit realm.
Oh, buddy, I am. I've seen how it ends, and you are all going to be very disappointed.
Let's bring on our other guest. We have E, the crypto bro.
Really? Really? The crypto bro.
You gotta have like a tagline.
Well, we should have pre-planned that before. Okay, it's fine. We'll take it.
What do you want to be called? We can change it.
We'll figure it out throughout the episode.
At least this guest is facing the camera.
The Bitcoin boy.
No, the Bitcoin man. What are you doing?
All right.
So that's a sweet background. How'd you do that?
Oh man,
you're kind of telling us pre.
The wall came with the house, and the window came with the house. And the fan, we added the fan.
Oh man, no, this is something from the olden days, from the irrelevant days.
So is it a banner? You were kind of talking about it before we started. It's
no,
not a green screen.
It's just an uploaded picture.
Okay.
Had someone make it for me, and it's kind of stuck. It's been my avatar for a while now.
Awesome. Well, so we got the trans luchador. He was a luchador, and then he trans to a ghost or a Klansman. We don't really know.
Oh, that was a ghost luchador.
Oh, ghost luchador. and then back to luchador.
Yes.
So what did you guys get into today? Did y'all chill out, or are you busy doing work, or what? Not work, just tasks. And
yeah, I actually had two good ones back to back. I had to go buy a shirt, and I ended up at DXL, and a lady was in there, and she said that she wanted to speak to a manager. So I was like, okay, well, I don't really work here, but I'm going to get extremely close to this because I cannot wait to hear what comes out of this woman's mouth. Boy, am I glad I did. She said, "You guys don't have anything that fits my son." This is a big and tall store. And the manager,
were they all too big?
No.
Oh, the kid was too big.
The manager says, "Well, I think we do." And she goes, "No, he's bigger than an 8, and I think you should accommodate him." And the manager, without missing a beat, said, "Ma'am, I think 8XL is quite enough."
Savage.
So, yep. And then when I was leaving, I saw that woman heartbroken getting into one of those Mercedes utility vans, which for a lot of people would be like a luxury. But in her, it's $100,000 reminder of her disappointing son.
Oh, my God. E, what'd you get into?
I went to Target. I don't know if you've ever been to Target.
No, what's that?
It's quite a time. Yeah. Along with all the other middle-aged. You know what? Let's not get into it. My day was pretty uneventful. So I can't follow up a big and tall kid at all.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There was actually a second half of this story. I stopped on the way home to grab something from the grocery store, and there was actually somebody getting a DVD out of a Redbox machine. And here's my thought about that. If you're renting a movie...
Those still exist?
Yes, thank you. Those still exist. But really, if you are getting a movie out of a Redbox, life is not going the way you had planned. Really, it's not even in the ballpark of how you thought life was going to go.
They're actually just planning on keeping it and paying the fee.
Do you have a DVD collection?
I don't even think, you know what? Last year, one of my kids got me a box set of something and I haven't watched it. You know, it's almost exactly a year. We're coming up on my birthday again. And I haven't watched it because I don't have a DVD player and I have no intention of getting a DVD player. Even my computers don't have DVD. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, the future's wild.
Dude, I used to have shows on DVDs and I got rid of them and I kind of wish I had them back. I guess I could just go find them on whatever, network they're on.
Streaming service, right? Yeah.
but it had like Spartacus and like Rescue Me and Entourage. Dude, it was good times.
That is good stuff. That is good stuff.
Oh, dude, Entourage was a classic.
No, okay.
Absolute classic.
Dude, I miss that show. People give it, but I liked it.
I didn't particularly care for it, but it was all right. Like, I mean, I could see why people dug it. It just wasn't really my speed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Are there any shows that y'all missed during when they're airing and you never got the chance, or you just kind of forgot about them and never watched them, but now you kind of wish you did?
Well, I didn't watch. What's the one where the guy lives in New Mexico and he's got cancer and he's cooking meth?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah. So I didn't watch that when it was live, but
Mhm.
I went back when it was done a couple of years afterwards. And I don't know, man. Maybe it's just an age group thing. In fact, it actually might have been YouTube that told me about it to go back and get it. But it might be an age group thing.
Yeah, I was big into that at the time.
Yeah, the only thing that I thought, and it wasn't bad, right? Like, I didn't think that the show sucked, but the entire time I was watching it, I was like, man, I really wish I was just watching The Wire or The Sopranos or Dead. Like, it was, you just can't do that level of grit that show deserved on regular television. Yeah.
Dude, that's funny that you bring that the couple shows that you just listed up, because The Sopranos is the one that I was going to say that I wish I had watched and I still haven't watched.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm a few years older than you fellas, so I think that I started while it was like I started. Yeah. I watched it from episode 1 until finish. So
I'm pretty sure it's shows like that that kind of gave Breaking Bad the room to run.
oh,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And again, like I said, there wasn't anything wrong with Breaking Bad. It just, can you imagine how good that Cranston fellow would have been if he had no restrictions? Like, if he had HBO level, do whatever you want to do, dude, that would have been unbelievable.
Would have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
What was it on, like TNT or something like that?
But it's on FX, which had some gritty stuff on it too,
Yeah.
right?
I think it was AMC actually.
Was it
With,
AMC?
Oh yeah, you might
Yeah.
be right.
with The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
Oh,
AMC wasn't bad.
Ugh. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that.
So bad. Oh, is somebody gonna get eaten? Big
Yeah,
eye zombie shows. Are you watching The Last of Us?
I am. Yeah, I'm a couple weeks behind.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah,
E,
I think I think I'm 5 episodes in.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
E, what you got?
I'm like 3 episodes in.
Okay. Have you
Yeah.
guys seen the episode with Parks and Rec feller?
Yes.
Who's Parks and Rec feller? Because I've never
Uh,
seen Parks and Rec.
Ron Swanson.
Well, there's
Oh,
your
okay.
there's your TV show that you never watched that you should have watched.
Yeah, I'm actually about to start that.
I love
Oh,
it.
it's great.
It's not as good as The Office, right? The Office makes you feel better,
Ooh.
but
Gee, that's a hot take for a lot of people.
it's funnier than The Office, right? The Office is a better show, but Parks
You
and
think
Rec
so?
funnier. Yeah. Oh,
I don't think it's funnier, but it is right up there, like right under The Office.
it's more slapstick, right? Like Office. The Office went for the love and the life and the happiness, right? Where Parks and Rec really is just about tickling your funny bone.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, that first season is garbage, but the rest is pretty funny, which I think is the opposite Office effect, right? So The Last of Us. The reason I brought it up, and this will
They had me in the first half
this
of that episode.
this will tickle everybody, I guess, or it won't. Who cares? If you're walking past an armory and it's the end of the world, and you walk past a FN, FAL, and a Galil, and a Type 56 AK-47, and you pick up a bolt-action rifle and a revolver, I actually hope something bad happens to you. Like, I can't root for you anymore. This isn't a zombie apocalypse in 1910.
Well, it's a show made by fucking liberals. What do you expect?
That doesn't really bother me. I know that I am kind of the left leaner in our little group of friends, right?
Are you?
Yeah, and even when I'm not, I don't really, even when I'm watching something that I don't politically agree with, it's not like it comes up, right? There's plenty of left-leaning stuff that has just tremendous gun knowledge, right?
He's a closeted libertarian.
Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's the only ammo he could find.
Here's the other thing. Oh, I would have to spurler you two fellows, so I won't. But we'll discuss it when we should do a Last of Us recap episode when it's all over, and we can rant and rave about the things that we loved and we hated. Because I do dig the show a great deal. I didn't like the game.
That was my next question. Did either of you play the game?
I started the game and I actually traded an amplifier, for a PlayStation 4 and a stack of games, and The Last of Us was one of them. Do you remember that?
I actually vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
Was that
yeah.
the trade? It was definitely not drugs. I do remember
No.
that. But was that what it was? Was it a PS4?
Yeah. It was that 70 some odd Music Man.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and then it was a PS4 and like 25 games.
Yeah, I do remember that now. Wow.
I played it, and I played that game for a day and was like, man, I want that amp back.
It's like too bad.
And I think
my brother actually made me borrow his PS4 solely to play that game.
What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, I loved the game.
Yeah. That's what everybody said. It wasn't like I played Far Cry 5.
Oh man.
I set a rule for myself that I can only use guns that I use in real life. I would do okay. I'll be honest with you, fellas. I would do okay.
Far Cry 5 was an incredible game, though.
Tremendous, dude. Tremendous.
That has dinosaurs in it, doesn't it?
No. That's
what am I thinking of?
I think it's like 3.
Yeah. Oh, but it is the Far Cry series.
Oh, right? Yes, definitely the Far
Cry
series. This is the one where they're up in like Montana or Wyoming and they get taken over by a neocon cult.
Mm.
Yeah. Great game.
Yeah, I liked it. And you can tell that I like it because I don't play story games anymore just because I don't have the time. Everything I play is like like Call of Duty or like Madden, that sort of thing.
I think that was probably the game I played, to be honest with you. I don't know if I've touched a game since. Oh, and I guess that answered my question. I guess I do have a DVD player in the house, wherever that PS4 is.
There you go.
Hey, those are still valid since, it's really hard to get a PS5.
Oh, is it still hard to get those?
I guess so. I don't know. I've seen them a lot more lately, but what is this, like 2 years later?
Yeah, I've never touched one. I don't know if I've ever. I think you could put one in front of me, and if it doesn't say PS5 on the side, I would have no idea what it was.
Yeah.
Nice.
I bought one, played Spider-Man, and then sold it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that Spider-Man game?
It was awesome. It was a great game.
Yep. Yeah, it looks cool.
I do have a question, actually.
Sure.
What's your apocalypse weapon? You get one.
Well, I got a couple of different scenarios, and I'm not, for the vast majority of them, I'm not going to use the real names of the platforms because the internet.
Okay.
So if I'm bugging in or leaving and have a vehicle, I'm going AK-47. Right? I love the weapon, but the ammo is very heavy. If I'm leaving and don't have a vehicle, I'm going to grab any of the number of 5.56 weapons I have so that I can hoof and carry more ammo. But can I tell you one thing that I'm not bringing with me? My wife and kids.
I was about to say it, but then I held back.
Yeah, you don't want to be wrong on that answer.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. How about you, E?
Oh man, probably an AR-10, 308 for sure.
Okay.
If I had an AR-10, that would be it, but we'll go AR-15.
Solid choice.
It is. Yeah, it's really actually. pretty difficult because I was about to flame you guys for like there's an abundance of 308 ammo running around out there, but there's not really an abundance of 7.62. So I think if I had to leave the house, if I had to bug out, I think I would grab a 5.56 platform just so that I had. But you know what, dudes? Now that I think about it, I'm back to just saying whatever. Because if it ever gets to the point in this country where you need an AR-15, they're going to be laying everywhere. They're the most popular rifle on the planet. It will not be hard to find one.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's why I
not
haven't bought
good.
that ACOG yet. If it gets that bad, I'm just going to take one off a dead body.
Yeah, fair enough. Man, Trijicon makes some great stuff.
Yeah, I just wish the price point wasn't so high.
Yeah, but it really is a buy it once, dude. That warranty is
Oh,
incredible.
yeah.
It is. I went the other day and looked at one of those primary arms ones because the reticle that I actually like is that ACSS, which comes to find out is owned by Primary Arms, and that ACOG. They don't make the ACOG with that actual etching on it anymore. At least as far as the internet tells me, and if it's on the internet, it must be true. I was like, okay, I'll go look at one of those Primary Arms as a dealer, like one block over, and the optic itself seemed like it was very nice, but like the accoutrement, like the mount and the screws and the bolts, and even the adjustment knobs just did not feel solid, right? Like they just did not feel like the same construction. But when you're holding
Are they plastic?
they're not plastic. Not all the knobs. The knob has some plastic to it, but the mount is not plastic, and the bolts and screws are not plastic. But they just don't. Even how they sit in the parts themselves just don't feel like a Trijicon. I've got a couple of Trijicon parts here, and I think they're fantastic. My second go-to is Leopold. I really like Leopold.
Dude, I have a hot take, and it may not be a hot take for y'all, but it's probably a hot take for the rest of the internet.
There's four people.
I cannot get down with hollow sights. I've had one, and I cannot do it for multiple reasons. The first one is I have an astigmatism in my right eye, so it blurs out part of the donut, right?
Yeah.
But the other part is that donut covers so much of the target that I hate it. I can't stand it. So give me RDS all day long.
So I have two of the MROs, the mini rifle optic, with it's a 1X or maybe 1.5X. I cannot remember which ones I have. I've got one. They're both green. Green dots. I like them quite a bit, man. I really do. I picked up a cheapo Burris once, 5.36, which is like their half-assed version of an ACOG, and it's super cool, man. I do dig it for the price that I paid, but then when you go and actually interact with an ACOG, you're like, oh,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really it's different.
I mean, I'd love to participate in this conversation, but I'm just like not a glass or scope guy. I like to hold my gun like this, So there's that. No, I bought a couple of red dot like EOTechs back in the day, and then that was like, yep, call it good.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, if we are going to go back to the Apocalypse Last of Us style thing, I mean, that glass, you don't know how long that's going to... I mean, they've been without modern infrastructure for 20 years on that show, so I have to imagine anything illuminated, anything that requires a battery, long dead, right? So...
Oh, for sure.
It's assuming you can't find batteries.
Yeah, but I mean, 20-year shelf life on some of those watch batteries, it's just not happening, dude.
Yeah, I don't know how to make a battery, so it could be problematic.
Yep.
It's also not taking into account if there's an EMP.
Yeah.
Kill all the glass, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Unless it has like there's some glass, like that Trijicon has
the tritium.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point too. Those are tritium. So yeah, those would be fine.
Yeah. So unless you have one of those, it's pretty much back to iron sights.
Yeah.
Which isn't the worst thing.
No.
Cuts down on the weight.
I mean, it depends on the optic. Like obviously, there's some are worse than others, but I'll be honest, I've got a rifle that has that little Leupold. I think they're called Aim Point Pros or Delta Point Pros, something like that. I can't remember what they're. Delta Point Pro. That's what it is. I mean, it weighs nothing.
E, have you ever heard me compare these to like guitar stuff?
Have I heard you compare guns to guitars?
Yeah. So here's the analogy.
Okay.
So since we're all, kind of guitar people or whatever, the gun is the guitar, right? And then I feel like the optics are the amp.
Gotcha. I get that. Ooh. Yeah, I get that.
Or you can even do it vice versa.
I hate that take.
Well, you're wrong. Why do you hate it?
I don't know, because it came from you mostly.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's back from the spirit realm.
Yeah.
As an asshole.
Just to hassle me.
It is not good over there.
Dude, so tell E what you hit this week from the blocks.
Oh, I did a jerk 305 from the blocks.
Damn.
305.
305. That's pretty good, right?
Yep. I mean,
That's real good.
I'm just kidding. I get it. Yeah, that's impressive, man. Super impressive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And
So I told you to hold off on talking more about that because I wanted to bring it up here. So I worked out today and I actually had a terrible workout. I'm going to flog myself later. Do y'all ever have days where you're just, you attempt it and then it just doesn't go your way? And, some days you have it, some days you don't, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, on those days, it's not about the physical victory of killing it at the gym. It's about the mental victory of finishing, right? So that's how I look at it anyway. When I'm crying myself to sleep for being a weenie.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that 100%. Yeah, I would say generally when I'm pretty amped up and stressed, that's most of my days there. Cortisol levels through the roof, and it's not going to go well. Not going to go well. So,
dude, I keep going.
I was going to say,
I didn't want to interrupt you.
I didn't know who was going. So this is a real organized.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I felt like my CNS was shot, and so I was squatting, right? So I felt like my CNS was shot, and it wasn't going well, and one of my knees is kind of getting funky every now and then. It acts up, sort of thing. And so, dude, it was just not a good squat session whatsoever. But I feel like you kind of have to just take the bad days with the good, and maybe get a good night's sleep and good meals, and then attempt it again tomorrow.
I've noticed that my days that suffer the worst are the ones when I do something big the next day. Like I know a lot of people who are like, man, I worked out today, but I had a huge meeting this morning, so I was just wiped out. Or, man, I had to travel yesterday, so I'm dead today in the gym. Those aren't really the ones that bug me. Like if I have to travel tomorrow, my workout today would have sucked, right? I don't know if it's maybe like an anxiety thing, or like my mind's not there because I'm focusing on what I got to do the next day. But typically, when I have days like that, when I have a rough day, it's because I've got something the next day.
See, I feel like I have to get more in the day before we do traveling, because if we're in the car for 6 hours or whatever, I'm obviously not going to do much that day.
Kegels.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot of current events that I want to talk about today. I thought today would be more of like a hangout session. But the one thing that I did want to talk about was the Silicon Valley Bank closure.
Hilarious.
What do y'all think on that?
Funniest thing I've ever seen.
I don't really have any comments on it because you told me to look this thing up, and I don't know if I generally, when we hang out in the chat with each other, I don't really do politics much. Just kind of kind of floating through life, oblivious. So I thought it was interesting to be brought on the libertarian show, but it's all good. So enlighten me. What happened in the Silicon Valley bank closure?
Only the host is a weird libertarian.
Well,
A
your name's
base libertarian.
Cheese, so I don't feel like you can really throw stones here.
And I have been to the spirit realm with that. So
And back. Trans luchador.
Yeah. So that's what's up.
Okay, so wait, what happened?
I don't remember.
So what's the acronym for
Silicon Valley
the
Bank.
housing market? Is it a treasury bond?
Basically, they were taking a whole bunch of money from startups, and then we're using that money on the back end to leverage it into some other crap. And it was fine when the interest rate was down, but now that the interest rate was up, the world is ending. And
Got it. Because over leveraged, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe
Well,
they
they
shut-
basically held on to these bills and bonds the whole time the Fed was hiking the Fed fund rate, and instead of liquidating, they just held on to them, taking all these losses until they were forced to liquidate. Because they're running out of capital or whatever. So they took all of that as a loss, and it was $80 billion. Not the loss, but the initial investment into those vehicles was $80 billion.
And there's first I heard of it as I was poking around on like Twitter or Reddit or one of the other internet cesspools out there, and people were like, "My direct deposit hasn't hit yet." For all people who work in the tech sector, and then those same people later were like, "Oh my god, my direct deposit's never going to hit." That type of thing. Who knows, man? Like that is pretty crazy. That is just an insane thing. I can't remember. Has there ever been another bank run in our lifetime? Did anybody see bank runs in 2008? I don't think so.
No.
And there's one that closed in 2008.
Yeah,
Washington something.
But I don't remember that.
Not since like the Great Depression, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, that's pretty wild though. That's wild. I mean, there's been some like Ponzi schemes to close down, which is kind of what that sounds like.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
E, did you have a chance to look up what I told you to look up before the show?
I did.
Okay.
I wanted to question, so
So
that makes a lot more sense now.
yeah. So I listened to like a 15-minute explanation on it, and one of the things that was mentioned in it wasn't just Silicon Valley tech bros or tech companies that were in there, and he mentioned that it was also health tech companies, right?
Oh.
So the story is right after I listened to that, I got on Instagram and I was looking at stories, and someone that we went to high school with owns a health tech company startup, and was posting all this stuff about having like emergency meetings, and she was going to Silicon Valley Bank to see what was going on as it concerns her company and whatnot. And I put two and two together, and so I just figure all of that company's money is tied into Silicon Valley Bank. And now, until the feds decide what to do, those funds are frozen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything really directly to say about.
No, I mean, there's
that
nothing.
specific
There's nothing to
person.
say. There's no angle to it or anything. I just thought it was interesting.
I mean,
And it's
it
like
is
that
interesting.
It's like that 6 degrees of separation, but it's 1 degree of separation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's
Yeah,
not
for sure.
all degrees of separation. Cool. You just happen to know on a degree of separation that's someone you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's wild until the Fed decides what to do, or the FDIC steps in and makes good on it. Those funds are frozen. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
this country has a phenomenal track record of punishing the rich and wealthy when they do things. So I'm sure
Yeah.
justice, and nobody's going to lose anything too.
I mean, should we take a bet on bailout or not? Because my money's on bailout.
Oh, I'm sure. We just, one of the things that drives me nuts, the way you can mismanage a gigantic corporation, and then here comes daddy government with its wallet hanging out of its pocket. Go ahead, guys, get what you need. Feel free to grab it on
It's free, man. They print that.
It'll be interesting to see what Jerome Powell says and the Fed says this week. That'll be a pretty good indication. Do you think they'll do quantitative easing, or do you think they'll let it fail, or what do you think?
Ooh.
You voted they're not going to let it fail, right?
But it's a bank that's owned by a larger bank, right? Isn't it a subsidy of one of the other major ones, if I remember correctly?
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a oof. Boy, I'm glad we're all super informed and feel the need to take
to take a hot take on this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any, like I said, I don't have any clue about this particular situation. But I mean, really what it comes down to is the numbers, is how many people are going to be affected by it, what's the total loss, and is it worth letting fail or is it not? Because when there's too much at stake, they won't let it fail.
No, definitely agree. Definitely.
And the other problem with it failing is the FDIC doesn't have enough backing to make good on all their promises if multiple banks fail, right?
Yeah, sure. That's a huge problem too. It's interesting that it expanded into the healthcare industry. And I was buying a comic book the other day, A Nice House on the Lake, if any of the 4 people watching, like good read, pretty good. But when I left, there was a vehicle that said crystal healing and metaphysical health supplies. I wonder if they're feeling a little bit of a pinch from the Silicon Valley.
You know how many garbage tech companies and like healthcare companies actually come out, and I mean, they have like penny stocks, and then they dilute and they dilute and they dilute like this.
Penny stocks I love it. Penny stocks are, please, that's my favorite thing on the planet.
Is it? I prefer scratch off tickets, but I mean, that's just me.
You don't know what it's
Lou's like the dollar store Wolf of Wall Street guy.
Oh, it feels as good as putting in $20 into a penny stock to get 40,000 shares, and then 8 hours later selling it and getting out $24.
$24. Yeah, that was actually my very first investing experience.
That's how we roll.
Yeah, cancer company.
Then you just roll it back into something else.
Put a couple $1,000s into it, and by the end of the day, I had 200. So that was fun.
Oh, a couple thousand. Now we're getting too rich for my blood. 15. I've been winning and losing the same $15 for 8 years.
I was sold, man. I was sold, but that seems to be a pretty popular story amongst a lot of people. So,
yes, those people are referred to idiots, and I am one of them.
Yeah, well, me too.
Speaking of,
are you still doing all the Bitcoin stuff?
Do I trade crypto sometimes?
On here, come on.
But what's that?
I don't want him to embarrass you and make him to admit he's into crypto.
I mean, I don't know if you.
Well, we already dubbed him the Bitcoin boy.
That's why I don't feel good about it.
That's actually right there is a Bitcoin sign.
Sign?
Yeah, but no, I will trade the major ones: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that's pretty much it. Because just like healthcare companies and tech companies, the majority of crypto projects are probably going to go to zero, and they're probably one of the worst ones. Like, I think, was it Solana or Celsius or some of the other ones that were super popular have gone to, bankruptcy, and that's a pretty common story. So
if you could time it right on the way up, it feels like you have the potential to make a ton of money on the way. Yeah, that you can time the market, any market really, that efficiently. Like, there's no way you're just go put it all on black at the
yeah, you may have better luck.
Yeah, like you can't time it, and I don't know. So, Corey,
I'm sorry, you cut out what?
Oh, I cut out. I apologize. I said,
yeah, I'm sure you were making some other kind of mediocre point, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh, Sam, amazing! I've got a story for you guys. Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's hear it.
All right, have you guys heard of this thing called COVID?
Okay.
Heard of it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I've got it
So,
right now.
you know how you can wear a mask and supposedly it'll help? I
Sure.
got a guy, and it's been like 3 years since we've decided that this thing was not real anymore. He's still, every morning I see this dude riding his bike by himself in the morning on a bike with a mask on.
The next time that you drive by him and it's raining, I want you to find a puddle and just splash the shit out of him.
Here's the deal. He's not wearing a helmet. And that's what bugs me.
He's not wearing a helmet.
What is more likely to happen to you while you're on a bike in the morning in a city of 10 million people? A little Roner or somebody just destroying you.
So
Like-
this dude's wearing a mask on a bike.
Wearing a mask on a bike is just lunacy, the likes of which I've never heard, right? Like
Yeah.
that is
That's worse than wearing it in your car
that,
by yourself.
clearly an insane person. But if you're that worried about that, you would think that this dude would be wearing like helmet, whole bit. But in reality, he's just out there willy-nilly throwing his life to the wind. But COVID ain't gonna get him.
You should try to
How
talk
many
to this
boosters
person.
deep do you think that guy is?
All of them. All of them.
All the
of them.
boosters.
Probably, he's probably mixing them. Like he went to Walgreens for his Pfizer, but then asked for his Moderna, so he's got multiple. Dude's got blood like pancake batter.
Blood like pancake batter.
You got the JJ before they pull
Oh, and then he's got something that he's ordered from overseas.
it. It's that Mexico shot.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Not overseas, but just down south.
Now we all heard you refer to Mexico as overseas. This is
You
why
know what I mean.
This is why they're Hungarian president. You rube.
Oh man.
Man. So
Right.
are you going to talk to that person or not?
No, God, no. I don't want to talk to this mental patient.
Okay, says the guy wearing a luchador mask.
Hi,
Yeah,
Pot. I'm Kettle.
it's friggin- So I don't want to hear it.
It would be a good like conversation starter. Hey, I like your mask. My name is Cheese.
I see we're both connoisseurs, sir.
Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could show him your collection.
Oh, yeah, I do have a collection.
I
Yeah,
do see you have a mouth hole on your luchador mask. Did you ever wear a mask under that to cover your mouth and then put that one over it?
no, but one time when I love how you guys just know for a fact that I've worn this just socially. And
It was a safe assumption.
when I still had a really
Clearly.
long, I pulled out the handlebars out of the mouth
Oh gosh.
just to be as completely abnormal of a human being as I possibly can be. And sometimes if I'm going to be real funny, I'll put my glasses on over it. So I've got my glasses on.
Okay, so I have another hot take for you guys.
Okay, go ahead, Plow.
And you know what? Hot take's not the right word because I bet a lot of people agree with this. Okay, so something that really has been annoying me lately, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, is every place I go is asking for a tip when you check out.
Yeah.
I cannot stand that.
I don't mind.
Like-
There are people doing stuff I don't want to do, right? Like, cool, here you go. Here's $1. But I'll go one step.
That's how they get you. They make you feel guilty about it. I'm
Oh,
like,
I don't feel
"Bro,
guilty. I don't feel guilty.
I don't
if
feel
you're doing
guilty
something
either.
that doesn't require a tip, then I put 0 and I look them dead in the face and I'm like, yeah, 0.
What I won't do though is I will not donate to whatever crap thing your $1 billion company wants. No, you can't round up.
Oh
Nope.
man, that one always gets me. I'm not gonna lie, that one gets me.
You can't round up. I'm sorry. Your company is worth $1 billion. You round up, sir. You round up.
But it's like
Yeah.
St. Jude's. Like, how do you
They
say
always
no to
ask
the?
something at Panda Express.
Do what?
They always ask one of those questions at Panda Express when you're checking
Round
out.
up. What is Panda? What the hell are they donating to?
I don't remember what it is, but it's some charity.
Oh, it's probably something like sodium toxicant disease of the year. Both ends of it. They're caught, but they're also
So which one's worse, soliciting charity donations or asking for tips when you clearly do not deserve a tip?
I mean, I really think anybody who is making your food deserves a tip.
I'm gonna agree with that. Like, I go to places where they just make a drink, and like, I'm gonna out myself here, but Tea to Go, they make a drink that costs like $5 already, and I hit the tip button every single time, so it's like $6 at that point.
No, see, I'm not doing that. You literally made a drink and you're getting paid for it. You do not need to be double paid for it.
No, but here's the deal, dude. It's for me, this is how I look at it. I can make my own tea if I was a tea drinker. I can make my own coffee. I can make my own cocktail. I can make my own food. If I'm getting somebody else to do it for me, they need a buck or two for me to continue to be a spoiled American who doesn't have to put in any effort. Here's a couple of dollars for keeping the dream real, kid.
So by that logic, shouldn't you be tipping the people doing the things that you can't do?
I would probably say he still does.
Yeah, I
what
guess.
A cuck.
That's not nice.
Give me an example.
You know what? I just had tires replaced. I didn't have to tip for replacing tires.
Yeah, there you
go.
Yeah. So you probably go to Discount or one of those. Like, those dudes are well paid, right? I have no faith. But you know what? I guess I am an ass, because if I'm going to go to McDonald's and they were like, "Hey, we have a tip jar," I'd be like, "Go dunk your head in the grease, stupid."
Yeah. So how is that any different than Tea to Go?
You win. You know what? In 15 years of friendship, you've outsmarted me once, Casey.
I try. I'll take it back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still gonna do it. I don't really know what to say. Like, I'm still doing it because it pops up, and most of the time I'm too impatient to find the 0 on there or the thing that says no thanks. And I'm like, you know what? 10%.
The button, the 0 button is always 50% smaller than the tip
exactly.
button.
Well, yeah, for sure. And you know what? I don't blame the companies for doing that, because you're like, okay, well, you're out here trying, so I mean, you're smarter than I am.
Yeah, and the companies are probably getting a cut of that too.
Oh, probably. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I do like doing, to be honest with you? And this is just a total D-bag move. When I go to the comic shop, if there's a kid there that wants something whose mother says no or parent says no, I pay for it at the register when I'm getting my own thing, so that the kid just has to get it when they get there. To teach that kid to be ungovernable. Don't take that from me.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I can just see a mom saying no for some like valid reason, and then you just completely like obliterate
it. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What a cheese thing to do.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. Love it.
Dude, so we kind of hit on this in one of the texts, I think, Cheese. But someone that I really want to get on here is someone that's known for like prepping content. So do either of y'all know people that we could reach out to? Because I think that would be a really cool one.
It would, dude. It would be friggin' sweet, right? Like, I think that I think everybody has a little bit of the, I wonder how I would do, right? I think everybody, and some are going to do better than most. Some are going to do better than others. Most people are going to be dead within the year, and neither one of them thinks they're the other, right? Like, the guy who's really going to make it thinks he's going to be dead in a year, and every idiot who's going to be eating poison mushrooms in 20 minutes thinks that they're going to make it for forever. And I think that's the funny part.
If you're in the group that's bugging out, you're probably going to die.
Oh, 100%. So I follow some of these groups on Reddit, and the questions that they ask are legendary. Once we get a prepper on, we need to get a shit prepper on here just to see the difference. Like, I'll read this where it's like,
or at the same time.
Like, they ask questions like, I have sleep apnea so severe that if I fall asleep without my machine, I'm going to die. How do I prep for an EMP? You don't, stupid, you die.
Oh, jeez.
How you do. That's how you or I'm dependent on some sort of super rare medication and I can't get extra of it. What do I do when it runs out? Well, sir, do the math.
You do what life told you to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
survival of the fittest. That's unfortunate for like, an apocalyptic situation.
100%.
Realistic, you think you'd make it? Do you think you'd make it?
Me?
Either of you?
There's so many factors into it. I think that I live in a city that is probably first wave. So if it is a hostile event, like I go to bed at night and when I'm not thinking about all the awkward conversations I had today due to just generalized anxiety disorder, I think to myself, it's okay to have said something really weird at work today because a Russian nuclear missile is pointed right. Like there's, you know what I mean? So I don't think I would if it was
I think cheese gets wiped off the face of the earth before he can even
Damn.
answer the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a natural
Just
disaster.
because I think his town is or his city is first wave.
I mean, here's a hot take. I use a loofah, so I think I'm done. You know, there's things there about my life that I'm just like, yeah.
He owns too much hair product to make it.
Wow. You have to come for me like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you do anymore, but you used to.
Wow.
With the long hair,
Yeah. I did. I still own some. But yeah, I enjoy the finer things in life sometimes, and loofahs, and maybe I don't even want to make it. You look at that apocalyptic world and you're like, oh God, no.
Dude,
that's true.
You want to eat bugs? Do you want to eat bugs?
No.
And not wash your ass for like ever?
Okay, so I'm on board with one of
them. Okay. Let's keep it a mystery.
Yeah, no, I really do. I think that for it depends on what it is too, right? Like you've said that a couple of times, but the end of the world as we know it from a non-hostile action, I really think if it was something crazy, you're going to see people band together better than we think. I think the media has jaded us as to what really is and isn't up with this country. I know you guys are young pups, but I remember 9/11 and everybody was an American for a year, right?
A year? You remember it being a year?
Yeah, I remember being at least a year before people even started being just complete. Like,
well, my friend, I don't think you're brown because maybe a couple of days, and if you're brown, I got real shifty-eyed for a little bit.
Enough. But I even the people who weren't well liked were like, yeah, well, they're our guy that we don't well like. So I don't know, man. Like you say that, but I experienced some pretty extreme poverty at one point myself from my own fault. And
when we were living together, I remember
it was after that.
Oh,
if it weren't for the Hispanic community, who knows where I would have ended up? Like it really got down to the point there where I was choosing between like putting gas in my car and getting medication, or going to work, or going to the grocery store. Right? It really was those choices. I was taken into that community, and nobody even asked why I was needing help. Right?
Hey, which community are you talking about?
Over there on. Without saying too terribly much where we live, but that house that we all had. And, nobody ever asked, hey man, why are you hungry? They just noticed that I was. Does that make sense? So I have to imagine that in a real crazy situation, people are going to band together way more than we think. And I was a complete outsider. I am very well aware of what I look like when I'm not wearing this mask and the beard gets a little bit longer. I am very well aware that I have a very strong ethnic line in my appearance, and I was definitely the outsider in the area, and I was taken in with zero apprehension, and that was just one dude having a bad summer. So I cannot imagine that people would be left alone in the world with some sort of disaster.
No, I get that. I think hardships kind of generally bring cultures, communities, whatever you want to call it. Tribalism really kind of takes effect, and people start banding together.
Mhm.
You have a common enemy, and you need a
Yeah.
circle to make yourself feel safe. So,
And when you have a situation where it was like the coronavirus, like
yeah,
that one turned out to be not what we thought it was going to be, right? I'm not saying it wasn't bad. Obviously, I was making a joke earlier. Look, the coronavirus, it sucks. I think we've all had it at this point. It killed a lot of people. But it wasn't the mysterious virus X that we've all learned about in college that's going to wipe off, 90% of the population and we're all going to be dead. But when you have a situation like that where the enemy can be something that's not even human, we're not mad at a person. We're mad at a virus, or we're mad at a volcano, or we're mad at an earthquake.
yeah.
I think even more galvanizing, because at that point it's humans against nature, and I think that puts more oomph behind us. Or maybe I really am just the crazy liberal of the group who thinks that I've got all the answers for the rainbow.
I think it depends on what kind of disaster you're talking about. I think if it is a natural disaster like a hurricane, then I think you're correct. And I think people band together, and I think people from outside communities, send their people to help, or send donations or food, or whatever it is. But then I think if you have a large enough disaster, like if an EMP takes out the grid or something like that, and that's a catastrophic nationwide thing where shit hits the fan, I don't think people galvanize. I think they go straight for each other's throats. I think your families will galvanize, right? And maybe like your close friends, that sort of thing, to survive. But past that, I think people will be at each other's throats.
No, and you're not wrong. And I don't not prepare for that situation too, right? Like I'm not like a crazy prepper, but I'm definitely not going to be caught unaware.
Yeah.
So,
I think you have 2 or 3 days before it really gets bad after that initial attack.
you're probably right. And that's why I specifically did the difference between I think a coordinated attack, all bets are off because people don't know what's going on, especially when there's a lack of communication. But if it's pretty clearly not man-made, like a volcano, like a tsunami, super earthquake, something like that, I think that in my personal opinion, I think those things are significantly more likely than a true end of the world nuclear conflict. Like I know that that's what people prepare for. That's the big driver right now with Ukraine and potentially Taiwan and maybe Iran. But I just don't see that being the thing. I really do think we are way more likely to have something catastrophic happen outside of a human's control.
Yeah, like famine.
But yeah, famine.
Yeah, y'all know that's like my thing. I'm like, I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It is I love how we're rating catastrophes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday nights are for the boys. This is what it's about. We're just having fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, I don't know. That experience for that year or so where I was just truly, truly impoverished really changed my eyes on a lot of things about how people treat each other, right? So, but then again, I've seen the worst of humanity, right? I've spent some time in some pretty terrible places and seen some bad things there. So what do I know? Maybe I'm just an idiot in the luchador mask.
Do you think we're a little insulated from famine here, or is that a worry here too? Because clearly or obviously that's going to affect third world countries before it affects us, correct?
Ooh, I mean, I don't really know what that looks like. I mean, it's mostly hypothetically speaking. But no, I don't think anybody's really safe from that.
Yeah, I don't think so either, especially since we are a fairly generous country. Look what we're doing with Ukraine and Taiwan and the other places I've mentioned. I don't have the faith that we wouldn't cut off our nose to spite our face. That wouldn't be a good example, but we would provide at our own risk.
Cheese, do you have a nose? Just curious.
We would.
That is a good point, though.
Yeah,
I see where you're going with that.
But we would accidentally famine ourselves trying to unfamine others.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I just don't think there's going to be an abundance of supplies, and half the stuff that we is made from wheat products, which is already you can pretty much go to any governmental website that's run, and they basically said, "Hey, we're having a wheat shortage already. We don't have an answer for that." So that's always kind of concerning, but that's like not anything that anybody reads really. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to read about that or even know about it until there's no bread on the bread aisle. You know what I mean?
yeah, it'll
Until they start
basically
seeing it firsthand.
it'll be the same sort of event that happened with toilet paper during the COVID era.
There'll be a run on it.
Yeah, good pun.
During COVID. And they said that it's because of how big the packages were. So like if you go up and somebody takes the milk in front of you, there's still a ton of milk right there, but it's missing one jug, right? But if you take toilet paper, that toilet paper is usually 12 by 12. So a larger thing is missing, and one person grabbing that looks like there's significantly less toilet paper than if you were to just grab an apple off the rack. So people were doing like this whole monkey see, monkey do thing. And when enough people were like, oh God, the toilet paper, you can't keep as much shelf as you can of other stuff, right? So I think it led to the appearance of being out, and then it really became out because people were like, I got to get mine.
Oh, for sure. I didn't even want to buy toilet paper, but I was
Yeah.
Amazoning toilet paper and like wet wipes and all sorts of shit. I was just like, yeah, monkey see, monkey do, I guess. But
It's like the panic buying of the guns, which is the worst thing that you can panic buy. If you don't know how to use a gun and your inspiration to purchase a weapon is
it's panic.
natural catastrophe,
Yeah,
that is a disaster.
I don't know though. Like, I think panic buying toilet paper at that time was a good move because what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Hop in the shower every time? What are you gonna do?
Hey, E, can you turn the gain down on your mic a little bit?
Oh yeah,
Tiny bit.
yeah, for sure. How about there?
Good to mention that at the 57th minute.
Yeah, so I have a crazy story. Well, not crazy, but rather unique story about the start of COVID and the toilet paper whole thing. So my family was on a cruise right when that happened, and when things started getting hot or whatever, and we were actually in the last group of cruises that had gone out, and we got called back. What was it, March of 2020?
Yes.
So all the boats that were out got called back to Florida. And luckily we were on our last day already going back to Florida. And then, so we missed the initial panic buy of all of the toilet paper. And so for the next week, we just kind of had to like live on what we had. And like, maybe our parents had more than we did and we got some from them, sort of thing.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was interesting because even on the cruise ship, there was one day I remember where everything changed overnight, or actually in the afternoon right before dinner. So it's probably 4:00. They made an announcement about all these policies that they're going to change, and so they set up all these hand sanitation stations. And whereas before you were able to fill your own drink, they had people standing at each drink station that would fill your drink for you, basically like minimizing everything you had to touch. And then there's different things on the boat that like shut down. So like they shut down like even like putt golf sort of thing that was on there, and like the basketball courts. And I want to say that they limited the amount of bars down to like 1 or 2 bars.
1 bar, and you couldn't pour your own drink, and they shut down. But, I know some people who survived Auschwitz. And that sounds like a terrible cruise. Did you get your money back for that? Just, man. You know what?
I'm not saying I was inconvenienced that much. I was just saying it was a very unique situation being on a cruise ship that got called back. And then the other thing is we didn't know if we were going to be able to fly back out of DFW the next day. they canceled flights out of DFW, and that's when you saw all those videos of the delayed flights of the people
Yeah.
being tested and all that kind of stuff.
Well, bro, thank you for being so brave to share that story of your cruise ship that only went far. And
Such an asshole.
I appreciate it. Hopefully we
someone had to do it.
a little tighter tonight. We will all hold our loved ones.
Yeah.
I do have, and I know we're coming up on an hour here, but here's something I do think, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy, and if we need to put a pin in it for later, I think COVID is responsible for the George Floyd thing. I think that Derek Chauvin was rougher than he needed to be, not just because he was having a bad day, but because he was the impression that, hey, there's a public lockdown. Nobody's going to be able to come out and protest it. Nobody's going to be able to come out and riot. He really was under the impression that he was going to get a free one, because one, he was just a disaster of a human being, but two, he really was like, people are locked inside. Nobody's going to be able to come out and protest. So I'm going to do whatever I want. And I think that I really, truly think that was going through his mind. And I know that I'm probably in the minority of people who think that. And I obviously don't claim to know what is going on in somebody else's mind. But I think that in a regular summer or winter, whenever that happened, I think it goes a little bit differently, because he knows that there's public accountability now. And I think he was betting on the fact that nobody would let anybody out to protest and or riot.
You know, I haven't heard that take before, but I don't think that's too far fetched.
Thank you. Of course you have. I just told it to you. You know what? I'm gonna get you, bro. But yeah, no, that's just me. Maybe I'm a crazy person, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not one to speculate on. I'm not a speculator. I mean, you could be right.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm not a speculator. I just
all three of us are.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right or wrong. I just know that the dude.
Right or wrong.
What?
I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong either. It's just a thought.
I'm not gonna lie. I still have this picture in my mind that you don't have a nose. So that's been going through my head for about like 15 minutes.
Like Voldemort underneath that mask.
Yeah. But no, that's a pretty wild take, man.
Well, that's what you guys invited me on here for. My devastating looks.
Well, clearly you don't think that's the only thing that was going on. You just think that's like in addition to all the other things.
No. I don't. Not at all. I think.
Yeah.
It's just lack of accountability, basically, led to him overstepping bounds.
Yes,
by a lot.
I think that there was already a lack of accountability, and he thought that was going to be one more step of accountability or a lack of accountability. And I think he was just a shit evil dude too. One of the things that people drive me nuts is they're like, well, George Floyd was taking fentanyl and he was having an OD. I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of firefighters and EMTs, and they've never been like, hey, if you come across somebody who's ODing, you should sit on them. like what you do. And think about how much of a hero he could have been if that footage showed him saving that man's life instead of taking it. Think about how much of a healing image that could have been.
Yeah, they'd have one more police station, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, and instead he just chose to be one of the worst displays I've ever seen. Awful.
I wonder if he knew how his actions would be perceived in the moments that he was doing that.
Probably not. I think we've all been in high stretch situations with some of the jobs that we've had over the years. You know how it gets, right? Like you have a rough idea and a rough framework of what you're working with, but you don't have the specifics.
Yeah. What do you think, you?
I missed the question.
Eric checked out about 48 minutes ago.
When you call me the Bitcoin boy, I was done, bro.
So have y'all kept up with like the January 6th Tucker Carlson releases?
Yeah.
That new footage?
Actually, I do know this one. Wow.
There you go. You're ready to go.
What
do y'all think?
So ready. Well, let's hear it from Cheese. You know.
I don't think that it's fair to try to conflate all of those people as good people and all of those people as bad people. There were people there doing terrible things, doing awful things, and then there really were some people just wandering around minding their own business. And the idea that we're going to punish them all, none of them should have been there. I don't think rioting is right under any circumstances, regardless of who's doing it. And but we have to have some context, right? Like, there was definitely in a lot of places an attempt to storm the Capitol. And then in other places, there were just dudes wandering around wearing a stupid hat. So we can't conflate them all. I know a couple of people who are Capitol police officers, and two of the three of them, one of them was like, I at no point in time felt like my life was in danger. It was just some guys wandering around. And then the other two were like, dude, I was afraid for my life the entire time. And only two of those three, only the two who thought that their lives were in danger knew each other. So it's not like they were in the same situation. They were at the same historical event in different settings. So,
Interesting.
yeah. But
So if violence was only happening on one side of the four-sided building, you have 75% of that that's non-violent. Would you say that it's mostly a mostly peaceful insurrection?
Jesus, dude, how long have you been? I do have a problem with it being called an insurrection. The amount of guns that we have in this country, the idea that anybody is going to try to overthrow the government and nobody thought to bring a weapon seems a little weird, right? Like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think that the exact total from the protest before everything kicked off, right? Just that march that they called themselves. I forget what they were called. Had like 110,000 people there. If they really wanted in the building, they would have gotten in the building, right? Like if they really wanted to take over, it would have happened. So it's just it's another thing that never should have happened, right? Like the whole January 6th thing, in all of its iterations, the dudes just wandering around where they weren't supposed to be, and the people kicking in the doors and breaking stuff. None of that should have happened. None of that should have happened.
So when exactly was the time of death of Nuance, right? So it's exactly what you said. There was both things happening at the same place, at the same time, on the same day, right? So you had people that were being violent, and then you had people that were not being violent. Even if they went into the Capitol building, they were walking along the guided like tour ropes, and like you said, there was no guns there. So to call it an insurrection is just disingenuous.
Yeah.
And another thing that really irks me that I want to get into is legacy media, other than like Fox News, on this one is talking about it being cherry picked footage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course it's gonna be cherry picked because it's like 40,000 hours worth of footage, right?
Sure.
But then the other part of that is, what do you think that CNN and all of these other legacy media outlets have been showing you this entire time? That is also cherry-picked footage
All of it
to
is.
promote that side of the narrative, right?
It's really bugging me that you're referring to CNN media and not Fox News. Here's what I got to say.
No, they're both legacy media. I'm just saying,
but
Fox is on the opposite side on this one.
But they're not on the opposite side. They stink too. Here's the thing that drives me nuts. They want to call everybody else the mainstream media and say there's something different, but then at the same time, they crow that they're the most watched news in the world. So which is it? Are you the most watched news in the world, or are you not the mainstream media?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to numbers for that specific situation. They're trying to sell to their audience, which is working very well. They're not going to sell you a liberal viewpoint on a conservative channel, and vice versa.
And apparently,
it's going to be cherry picked.
Only thing that the audiences of CNN and Fox News can agree on are daytime catheter commercials and reverse mortgages. That's the only.
Oh man. But yeah, the answer is just nuance and transparency, right? So if you had transparency from the beginning, people might have a little more nuanced takes on this.
No,
No, I'm with
Yes,
Cheese
they
on this
would.
one. No way.
Yes, they would.
require human beings to go look something up. You curated a list of things for E to look at, and he couldn't be bothered. You're telling me that this country would voluntarily go find a narrative? Every human being does their research at www.imright.com. That is everybody's.
Here's the deal. The more transparency there is in a situation, especially like when it's filmed like that, the less room there is for conspiracy theories, right? It's the same thing with Paul Pelosi and all that before the video came out, right? So you had a bunch of conspiracy theories because they were withholding the video,
Yeah.
right?
No, but the government, and I've said it on here before, and all 8 of your subscribers have heard me say it 1,000 times.
Hey, we're up to like 24. We gained like 4 today.
And not a one of them is a woman. So here's
Damn it.
the government and the media thrive off of conspiracy theories. They need them. I will never be convinced that a national election was stolen, but both parties want you to think that a national election could be stolen. It behooves them for us to think they have that much power.
Sure.
It behooves them for us to think that, damn, the CIA killed Kennedy. Isn't that crazy? The CIA loves that we think they killed Kennedy, because if they killed the president, they don't particularly give a shit about us. You know what I mean? Like, they need those. That Paul Pelosi thing, they're getting so much mileage out of that, of us not knowing. They got a month of speculation. They loved it.
Yeah, good point.
Well, of course,
I don't think the CIA gives a shit about us, but
yeah, no, I know, but that's the confirmation. Yeah, of course they care about us, bro. They killed Kennedy.
Yeah, I generally think people like to be lied to for entertainment purposes, but that's just me. You could give someone full transparency, and it doesn't matter. Their objective opinion on that thing is always going to be bent by their lens of bias, per se.
And it might not even be a bias they know that they have.
I think it's more about changing the opinions of the people in the middle, right? So you know your left and your hard left and your hard right are always going to have those opinions, right? But the opinion of the people in the middle can be changed, and that's where that transparency is of the utmost importance, right?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I think that the problem is that the people in the middle change frequently, right? So they have to keep you onto the next thing to try to, if you've jumped over the line to go left, that they need to pull you right back to right, and then if you've done that, you need to go right back. Do you see what I'm saying? They need a rotating thing of story so it gets lost in the BS, right? Like your original idea or your original thought gets lost.
Did either of y'all see that Substack deal from Naomi Wolf?
No.
I think it was entitled something like an apology to conservatives, or I'm sorry, conservatives, something like that. And it was just about the January 6th thing, and like, you know, her changing her opinion on that and like admitting that she was lied to, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Anyway, that's the middle that I'm talking about, and I think it's a sign of intelligence that, you know, you can change your opinion when you're presented with all this evidence, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think I would feel better if both CNN and Fox News just to refer to themselves as what they are. I don't particularly care for any media network, and I certainly don't care for MSNBC, but at least they freely admit that they're the progressive news network, right? They freely admit that you are getting a hard left view. And I feel like if these places were like, we are a liberal news source, and the other one was like, we are a conservative news source, I think that people would go back and forth between the two, the people in the middle, and they would watch one dude's report on it and then watch another dude's report on it and find the commonality. Oh, okay, so this part must be real because they're both saying it. But this part here, I only heard on the one station, and that guy, he's kind of a mental patient. Do you see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Or no? Do you think that would just muddy the waters even further?
E, what do you think?
I mean, I don't like I said, I don't really know. I think everybody has a team that they play for. And we kind of talked about it already, but tribalism runs pretty deep in everybody's roots. For the people who are in the middle, I think those people generally move one way or the other and are always going to slant that one way. It's hard to be objective on any situation. You're always going to have biases. They're just deeply rooted, like whether you know that or not. But I mean, yeah, it would be nice to know who's playing for what team. But you turn on the news, and every single news station is always going to be we're the truth, we're the freedom fighters, whatever horseshit they're feeding you.
Yeah.
So,
Cheese, how do you feel about Tucker Carlson apart from Fox News?
He is just. Oh, he has one of the most punchable faces I've ever seen. That work he does. Look. He's super successful.
He reminds me of every frat guy I've ever known.
Oh, for sure. And look, I don't begrudge anybody their success. Good for him. He's done really hard for himself.
Yeah,
done great for himself. And I'm not even going to say that he's not entertaining, right? Like, but God, I think he is just a stonad of the highest magnitude. I can't stand it. I think that he's just as annoying as Keith Olbermann and Rachel Maddow. He just, they just, anybody who is smug bugs me. I don't care what they're saying, even if there's somebody I agree with. If you're being smug, I'm just kind of like, yeah.
I think that's like the most cherry picked stories on Fox News.
Say it again, buddy.
I said I think that's like the most cherry picked stories on Fox News coming from Tucker Carlson, because I mean he's the number one. Like he's on top. That's entertainment at that point.
Oh, it's all pro wrestling. He says in his luchador mask.
Well, all right, guys, we're running a little late. Do y'all want to plug anything before we go?
I got nothing.
No, I don't. Gross. And I don't even like that you asked that. What
Y'all got nothing going on?
What could we possibly?
Well, I expected that from you. You're in a luchador mask. But I expected more from me. He's got a professional background, and
that's true.
I'm retired, man. I just pulled this and knocked the dust off, quite literally.
Yeah. Okay.
E, are you ever going to get your podcast back up and running?
I don't know.
Or do you see any other like new podcasts in your future?
Yeah, there will probably be a few, and you'll probably know about it. But but as of this moment, it's kind of under wraps. So
is that a no? Anything to plug?
All good things must come to an end.
All good things must come to an end. Yeah.
Hilarious. Well, this hasn't been a good thing, but it still needs to come to an end.
All right, guys. We appreciate you watching and listening. If you want to, give us a like and a follow, subscribe, all that stuff. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining.
All right, guys.